The U.S. Department of Agriculture will examine all government assistance programs to ensure only legal citizens receive benefits. Joining us to discuss is Andrew Arthur, fellow in law and policy at the Center for Immigration Studies and former immigration judge. So, Andrew, good afternoon to you. Can I just ask you, does the law allow or not for non-citizens, for example, asylum seekers, to receive benefits?
So when it comes to asylum seekers, they are not eligible to receive benefits. Once they're granted asylum, they automatically become eligible for means-tested public benefits, SNAP, TAMP, public payments like that, Medicaid. But the bigger issue is that many of them, get the benefits through their children. If their children are born in the United States and they are, they meet the wealth threshold, then they are eligible to claim those benefits. In addition, there's also the earned income tax credit. That's a tax credit that lower wage earners receive. So instead of actually paying taxes, they've received money back in their taxes. And the center has determined that a disproportionate, more than half of all immigrant-headed households receive some sort of means-tested public benefit through that system, through their children or something like that. But the bigger issue is that we want to make sure that nobody is fraudulently claiming U.S. citizenship or some other status that would permit them to obtain those means-tested benefits and to defraud the American taxpayer of that money.
So, Andrew, in this effort, USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins says the agency is requiring states to turn over recipient data. What does the law say about the federal government's ability to compel states to turn over this data, like Social Security numbers?
So there's currently a lawsuit going on right now. A consortium of states are opposing that, but about 28 states and Guam have voluntarily complied with that requirement. And according to preliminary accounts, we haven't actually seen any data on this. But there are, hundreds of dead people receiving benefits and hundreds of thousands of other people who are receiving double benefits. One of the biggest issues with food stamps is that it's no longer an actual stamp. It's something called an electronic benefits transfer card, or an EBT. And one of the frauds that we know is used with respect to those EBTs is that somebody will go into a grocery store or a bodega. They will claim that they are buying, a certain amount of qualified items. The store will record the sale and then will give half or a quarter of the amount that was sold back in cash to the individual. So that's really where that EBT fraud proliferates. But if you're receiving double, triple, quadruple EBT payments, then you've got plenty of, extra money that you can use to then, convert it fraudulently into cash and to spend it on whatever you want. That's really what they're looking for in this process.
All right, understood. So can I also get your analysis on Immigration and Customs Enforcement urging New York State to honor its detainers for more than 7,000 illegal immigrants? Are states like New York legally required to honor ICE detainers, or is cooperation voluntary under sanctuary policies?
So that's a great question. And when you look at these large-scale street operations that are taking place in New York, the reason that ICE is engaging in those operations on the streets is because New York won't allow ICE into its jails and into its prisons. And so ICE has to go out and find criminal aliens on the streets. There is no actual obligation for states to cooperate, but traditionally, and my experience in this field goes back 3 decades, states wanted to cooperate with ICE or with the former INS in those operations because it took criminals off the street. It saved, court costs. It saved the cost of incarceration, and it saved the costs and all of the, harm that would go along when these individuals reoffended. The Bureau of Justice Statistics did a survey, 10-year survey, where they took a look at people who had been released from state custody, 400,000 people. And they determined that in the first year, 44% of those individuals were rearrested. And by year 9, 89% of them had been rearrested. It's important to note most aliens, certainly legal immigrants, and even most illegal aliens don't commit crimes in the United States. But people who do commit crimes in the United States are more likely to commit more crimes in the United States. That's really who ICE is going after. They're, making a public statement about this, attempting to change the narrative, because at the end of the day, sanctuary policies like the ones they have in New York only protect criminals. They don't protect innocent people. And given the fact that most of these immigrant criminals prey in immigrant communities, it's the immigrant communities that are hurt the most by this.
Okay, staying a bit longer on immigration here, Andrew. Another issue is the pause on asylum seekers. Can I ask you, how much discretion does the U.S. CIS have to basically pause all asylum decisions?
They have absolute authority to do that. Once an application is filed, it might take USCIS 6 months, 8 months, 2 years, 10 years to adjudicate that application. So if they put a pause on it, those individuals are currently in the United States. Most of them are currently receiving, they have work authorization. So they're not really being harmed in that process. And so what this will do is it'll give USCIS the opportunity to go back, take a look at the databases that it can access to ensure that it can adequately vet the people that it's dealing with. But of course, this all came out of the Afghan shooting case, Mr. Lakwinal, at the Farragut Metro Station in Washington, D.C. That was an individual who had been granted asylum, even though apparently there was a lot of derogatory information about Mr. Lakwinal personally in his background. So it's appropriate for the agency to take a pause, reassess what it can examine, determine what it can't find, and then figure out how it's going to move forward on those applications when most of the information that it's attempting to verify is not actually in the custody or even the reach of the United States government.
Okay, Andrew, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just one final question. And Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, in today's cabinet meeting talked about Minnesota visas and their programs. She said 50% of them are fraudulent. Any idea how this could have happened, and what is the recourse? Is it deportations or reassessing each case?
Well, to the degree that they were, inadequately, found because of fraud is a federal crime. You can get 2 years to 10 years to a lot longer in federal prison if you've engaged in fraud. It looks like what they're looking at here is green cards that were granted to individuals in Minnesota based upon marriages that weren't actually valid. Now, that's one of those things that we try to find in the adjudications process. But, the more sophisticated the fraud, the more likely you're going to be to get away with it. They've gone back, they've taken a look at this in connection with, curiously enough, a USDA food fraud scheme involving a group called Feeding Our Future, I think it was, and some other groups. So yeah, they're going back, they're taking a look at the visas that were issued, and they've uncovered apparently quite a bit of fraud. So yes, they will rescind the visas. They will put those individuals back into removal proceedings. They will potentially deport them. But more importantly, they're probably going to turn around and prosecute those people criminally. And, 2 years in a federal prison is a lot of time to spend on.
Really great analysis today. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Don.